Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. You're in for a treat because we have Dianna Kokoszka back with us again. You might remember Dianna spoke to us last year when her new book came out, Becoming More. We're going to hear about a little bit about the book, but really I'm just looking forward to having a conversation with my mentor, my coach, my friend, Dianna, who has a long career as an entrepreneur, keynote speaker, a trainer, a master coach, and has really built a legacy on really providing solutions and helping other people achieve the things that they want most. So Dianna, welcome back and thank you for
Oh,
being here.
it's fun to be back on your show again. I mean, you're doing so much for people. And Anna, I just trust that everyone is understanding how much value you want to add to them by not only having people on your podcast, you ask very good questions. So it's just an honor to be back with such a great leader as you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Diana. I was excited to have you come on because I have been enjoying so much the time that we're spending together. We have been seeing each other more often, and I had this amazing opportunity when you called and invited me to be a part of your inner circle, a mentorship group that I'm getting so much out of, not only because I'm learning from you, but the other people in the group. So I want to thank you for that. And maybe we'll just jump in there. So tell us a little bit about the inner circle and what your inspiration was for putting this together.
So glad you asked that. See, many, many years ago, because I'm really old, right, is that John Maxwell said, I'm going to put maybe 10, 12 people together and really mentor them. And of course, John's been my mentor for about 28 years now. So it was many years ago that we did this. And I learned so much because it was a small group. We were able to ask questions. I was able to call John and speed dial him, so to speak, saying, hey, I need help here. What do you think about this? And not bug him, yet just have that access to him. And of course, he brought other speakers in to pour into us, and people like Ed Bastian, who is the CEO of Delta Airlines, who has been through a lot, needless to say, people that really helped us. And so I was on a trip with John and Margaret and many others on a cruise ship. We'd taken over the entire ship, and it was the footsteps of Paul. Here we were in Greece, and it was later in the evening, and a lot of us were still just talking around a table. And as people would drift off or go over to talk with someone else, I found John and I just sitting there talking with each other. And I said, John, what I miss is that small group. Would you come with me? I'll put together a small group of people that I desire to mentor and that they desire for me to mentor them. And I would like to have you be the icing on the cake, so to speak, because I want you to come in and pour into them at least once a month. And he said, I'll do better than that. We'll get together for 3 hours and I'll just hear all the things that they desire to know about. We'll ask questions, and then I'll design all of my teaching around the questions that they have. And right at the very beginning, in order to get in, you had to have expectations. And I
Mm-hmm.
took those expectations, and that's how I chose the other people that would come in and pour into you about wealth building and legacy and how to put your affairs in order so your kids actually get your money instead of the government, right?
Yeah.
About culture and how culture is caught, not taught, and what kind of culture are you building? And then, of course, with me doing the program once a month, pouring into people, as well as Chad Hymas, and who is a great speaker out of Salt Lake City, Utah, where we spent 2 days at his ranch having a good time.
Spectacular. Beautiful
And we
place.
just got back from West Palm. But
Yes.
I wanted to do something that would help people grow, to think bigger, and to have that ripple effect. So I chose leaders that poured into other leaders. And of course, then some of the leaders, they recommended other people. And in fact, I think I called about 4 people, and then they started calling everybody else saying, hey, you need to be part of this. So it was interesting. And they're not all realtors. They're not all from Keller Williams. We have a mixture of many people that are helping each other. And I
Yeah.
love that because I'm reliving what catapulted my career in such a great way into leadership versus sales, right?
Yeah, it's a great group. And I think that it's not about the industry that you're in or the specific role that you might be in. It's all of the things that connect us. It's about our desire to grow as people, our desire to continue to discover more things about ourselves, to become better leaders, to become better, I think, members of the world, just to give back,
Right.
the things that we have. And that's one of the things I love most about it. And you mentioned all the different speakers and topics. So I'm getting every month on these calls, I'm getting a perspective about something that is significant and important to me in my life. And that is, again, a catalyst for growth. So it ties right in with what you write about in the book, Becoming More. And the subtitle, everyone, you need to understand, Diana's subtitle is, you can't get to better until you get to different. So it is about understanding that change is a part of growth.
Yes, and you actually have to choose. It's interesting because I said to my husband the other day, I said, honey, we come into this world just as an infant. We are so innocent, and yet we die looking like our decisions. And I think it hit us home because it's like, what decisions are we making right now? And I'm going to be starting another mentorship group, not a small one. This will be for more people, right? And yet mentoring them, because leadership, characters, all of these things, our values, our characteristics, our words that we use are so important. And I know I've made mistakes as a leader, and yet I've made really great decisions as a leader, right? As you said, we do something, then we make a mistake, we learn a better way, and we just keep moving forward. So if
Yeah.
you're not making mistakes, you're probably not going forward as fast as you could.
Yeah, I think if you're not making mistakes, you're just not trying hard enough.
No,
You're
I
probably not
believe
putting
that.
yourself out there enough.
Yeah, I believe that totally. And just this last one, we talked about vision, and everybody goes, oh, yeah, I have a vision statement. No, it's more than that. How do you cast vision? How do you get commitment on your vision? Because without unity, there is no momentum. And a lot of people don't understand that your day starts the night before, your year starts the quarter before the end of the year. Planning clinics should actually be in September because we hit the ground running in January. That is where you're building momentum. And if you wait until January 1st to start, you're not building momentum until the second quarter. So we
For sure.
start now casting vision, getting commitment, getting the unity, having people buy into the leader, buy into the vision, buy into the things that they have to do to make that vision a reality. And we start going. The first quarter, we build momentum. And we learn what's working, what's not. The second quarter, that is when we go into innovation and creativity, and because we know what's working and what's not and what we have to change. The third quarter is when we start setting our goals for the following year. This is where we actually climb. It's where we make that big gusto of, wow, we're really going now. And then the fourth quarter, we're back to casting vision for the upcoming year. Most people don't get their momentum going till the second or third quarter, which they're just behind the eight ball. And it's mainly because as leaders, we didn't have them start early enough or understand the four quadrants and how they work.
And do you think it's also too, Diana, because sometimes people get comfortable and they take their foot off the gas. They start to see results. They start to feel good. And so they think, oh, okay, now we can relax a little bit. And that's not to say that you want to work at a pace that's unhealthy, but you need to keep your foot on the gas or you lose the momentum.
Exactly. You can coast downhill.
Mhm.
And so if you're coasting, chances are that's probably the direction you're going, right?
Mhm.
As John Maxwell teaches, it's uphill goals with downhill habits. And that's why I believe my book is so important for people, because it helps us train our brain to a new way of thinking, which develops new and better habits. It's not just about saying, hey, I'm going to take this habit and I'm going to change it. No, you really have to train your brain to change it, because you've trained your brain on where you're at right now. You are being and doing and having the things you've trained your brain to be, do, and have. And
Yeah.
if you desire to have more, then you've got to become more, because your business grows to the extent that you do. Your life, your relationships, everything grows to the extent that you do. And so I've got to ask you, as I said, I made some mistakes as a leader. I also made a lot of great decisions. And one of the decisions, I loved people. I loved them so much, I was willing to tell them the truth as I sought to help them get better. And I took a stand for their greatness, while many of them were standing for those limitations and getting upset because I would push them sometimes. And I had high standards. People said that. Your standards were high. Some people said they were too high. And I went, I thought you could reach them. That's why they were different for each person, because everybody has different strengths. And yet, if we're not pushing them to become all that they can be, if we're not helping them, if we're not seeing in them and speaking to them as though they're already great, because people grow into the conversations you create around them. Many leaders are creating low expectations because they want people to like them. And I've got to tell
Mhm.
you, if you're a leader that everybody loves, there's probably something a little bit wrong. Because look at John Maxwell. Lots of people love him. There's some people that don't. And he's okay with that. And we've got to be okay with
And,
that.
and one of the things I've learned, because I also have had the privilege of being with John numerous times now and consider him another mentor. And I can remember listening to his books on Audible or audio 20 years ago and just soaking it in and taking notes. And to think now that I get to hug him and see him at events is just mind blowing. And he's always taught us the power of asking ourselves good questions and the power of, there's a few things I want us to unpack here, the ability to ask ourselves and others powerful questions, and the time to reflect, to understand that reflection provides you with information. So let's talk about that, because I realize in my journey as a leader, as I'm teaching, as I'm coaching, providing content through this podcast, there are things we talk about all the time that we sometimes take for granted and think everyone knows and understands.
Yeah.
But this might be a new concept for some people. Let's talk about how questions can do so much for us in terms of opening us up to possibilities. So let's talk about the power of good questions.
I love that, because see, powerful questions bring powerful answers.
Mm.
Weak questions don't do anything at all. And many people, they want to stay in that weak zone because it's comfortable, because it's easy. When someone has to pause and really think, well, you've asked a great question. And if people are not pausing once in a while with the questions you're asking, then I think we need to work on our questions. First of all, reflection time. You brought that up.
Yep.
At the end of every year, I was taught to sit down and painstakingly go through my entire calendar of this year. And I generally do this sometime between 26th of December to 1st of January. And when we literally take our time for ourselves and ask ourselves tough questions, did I really give it all? Did I give it my all every single day? And if not, what could I do better this year? Did I serve the people in a way that I knew I loved them and I felt like I was giving that love to them? And if not, why not? Is there somebody I need to apologize to? Is there something I need to do better? And it was always about becoming even 1% better. Because
Mhm.
just when we think about that 1%, we've heard it over and over again. Water, yeah, at 211 degrees, it'll make instant soup and instant tea. My dad always told me, never be a 211 degree pot of water, right? At 212 degrees, it boils. it makes steam. It takes an ocean liner around the world. So always give it all you've got and keep adding that 1% difference. Anna, I did this really interesting thing. This is back in when I wrote my 19 books of systems for real estate offices and for real estate agents, right? Because I wanted everything to flow easily. And then when I got to maps, I wrote systems for maps. And the 1% that I found is that I looked up like how many babies would be dropped during delivery if the doctor made a 1% error.
Yeah.
And it was in the hundreds of thousands. I went, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
Just
such
one.
a powerful concept to understand because sometimes I think we minimize our efforts and think it's not a big deal, but it is. And that 1% can make such a difference. And then when you think about how it compounds too, that's transformational. I love that story. And something else that I also pulled out of what you just said is that you can never stop pushing because you could keep something on simmer and keep it there at 211 degrees, but why not continue to raise the heat a little bit and get to that next level? That 1 degree makes all the difference.
See, it's like the net forward energy ratio that I
Mhm.
speak about in my book with an
Mhm.
airplane taking off. It's not going to take off if the thrust isn't more than the drag. If the headwind is coming at it so hard and it doesn't have the engine to give the thrust to go through the headwind, it's going to go backwards. So we have to watch our energy. And there's energies that are bring us towards success, and there's energies that limit us. And so many people don't even understand what energy they're in. Therefore, they're limiting themselves without even realizing what they're doing each and every day. So I think it's important that we look at ourselves, we look in the mirror and take responsibility for everything in our life. It's real easy to put somebody else down. And I find it funny that sometimes the people that complain about certain things, the reason they're able to complain about those is because they do it themselves. So they see it in other people so easily because they're doing it all the time, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So we're going to talk about John again. John has really said for forever that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And I agree with that. I know you do too. If you could back it up with another powerful word in addition to influence, what would it be from your point of view, Dianna?
I would say impact.
Hmm.
I think that maybe empowerment, there's so many words that come to
Sure.
mind because as a leader, if we're not empowering others, and that doesn't mean they take over because somebody has to be the leader, yet you empower them in their strength zones.
Because I think you're someone who's wired, you, and I've heard you say it, you want to take a stand for other people's greatness.
Yes, ma'am,
Why is that so important to you?
because they don't do it and somebody's got to do it. I tell people, borrow my belief in you until you can gain your own belief. Because at
Mhm.
first, everybody has wobbly legs. You didn't tell your kid, hey, get up there and start walking, and you're going to do that all on your own. No, you took your finger and put their little hand and they grabbed it, and you were holding on to them, or you held them around their wrists, or you did something to help them stabilize themselves. And I think that's why you've got to take a stand for their greatness. See, if I kept pushing my kid down, would they have ever walked? If I would have said, man, you're stupid, you didn't do it the first time. No, we have to make certain because they got wobbly legs. They don't know. They're limited and they
And
don't know if they can do it or not. We've got to be the one that encourages them. How many of us went, come on, walk to mommy, right? We were encouraging them all the time to do things they never thought that they could do, yet they wanted to do. That's
yeah,
it.
I think most people struggle with that. We were chatting a little bit before we started recording, and you were sharing some things with me about how you just have really learned to become your own best advocate in so many ways. And that doesn't come easy to a lot of people. So when you, if you were here right now to help someone understand how to take a stand for their own greatness or how to become their own best advocate and tune into what they have to believe is right for themselves, What is your best advice for someone who might need to learn how to do that?
And it's such a great question. See, we've all been through it. And if you haven't, you'll go through it sometime in your life when you just don't quite have that confidence. You think you're right. And the world has told you things like, hey, you didn't go to college. Well, college right now is a little bit overrated because if you go to college, let's say you're in tech, by the time you graduate, what you learned the first year probably doesn't even matter anymore because it's outdated, right? Everybody has a gift. The question is, have you opened it up? And if you have opened it up, how are you multiplying that talent that you've been given instead of digging a hole and burying it? Being an advocate for yourself is realizing that your life story matters. And that story, are you holding the pen or are you giving the pen to somebody else? Are you becoming the main character of your own life story, or are you just being an extra, a stand in the play called your life? And to be an advocate is saying, hey, I am the creator. I am the one that has to be the crusader for myself. I'm the one that's going to be the hero and the champion of my own story.
Oh, good. So true.
Yeah. Yet if you don't have faith in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, then yeah, you're not going to be able to do that. That's why in my book, I talk about how do you get those 4 energies of success? What can you do to train your brain to be somebody that has those energies of success? You know, the
What
energy.
are those, Diane? Share that?
Well, yeah, the energy of confidence is something that's very important because you know when you meet confident people, you're just drawn to them. And the energy of being in the present moment. Too many people live in the past and they're always beating themselves up about something that happened in the past, right? Oh, poor woe is me. They treated me so bad. Oh, yeah. And complain about what they don't like about the past. Some people love to live in the future, and we call those people dreamers, right? They're just always dreaming and never doing. They're pretenders, not participants, right? And then we've got people, you've got to have purpose. See, every morning I get up, what will I do today to add value to people? At 7 a.m.,
One of
an
those
alarm
good
goes off.
questions, right? To ask good questions.
And then at 7 p.m., the alarm goes off on my phone and it says, what did you do to add value to people? The 4th energy is the one I love the most. It's gratitude. The energy of gratitude is such a great thing. And we're not grateful for all things. I don't know about you, but there's been a lot happening in my life I'm not grateful for at all.
Fair, sure.
Yet we have to be grateful in all things.
Yeah.
That's why the mantra of mine is things are always working out for me, and I'm grateful that they do. But let's just talk for just a minute about what are those energies that limit us, like fear, worry, nervous, depressed, dissatisfied, anxious, stressed, complaining, irritated, self-doubt. When we take those limiting types of energy, people feel them. That you feel somebody that's negative coming straight at you before they ever arrive. And I always say you have an energetic calling card that you're giving out long before you could ever give out a regular business card. It hits them way before you get there. See, we've got to take those limiting ways and train ourselves to the liberating ways of joy, of gratitude, of confidence, of passion's such a great energy. Approval of ourselves. Being intentional is a great energy. Responsibility. Don't blame other people. Take responsibility for everything. Being optimistic is a great energy. Resilient, having that grit. What a great energy. And just being creative and asking questions versus going into judgment. Those are the energies that we desire to help people have, to help train people. And when Bold came out, it was the first real estate course that actually combined sales and mindset.
Yeah.
And there was so much about gratitude in Bold. And people would say, I've got over 80,000 thank you cards, maybe even more. I stopped counting after about 80,000. As we'd put them in, we'd add them up. And people would say, oh, Bold changed my life. And I went, you actually changed your life. The words that I wrote and the things that I taught Yes, they did help, yet you had to make the decision to do something different and to follow through on that.
Well, yeah, and that goes back to we were talking earlier about questions, choices, and decisions. They had to apply whatever they were hearing, what they learned, because I know that is something that can happen quite often. We go to these great classes, we sit in these powerful workshops, we listen to podcasts, we're reading books. I'm a big note taker, and you want to then look at your notes and figure out what can I pull out, even if it's just one thing, and apply it, because otherwise you have a lot of smart notebooks, but you're not putting that into action in your world. And so as we look at this new year in front of us, I think you can change and make a decision any day, but I'm going to go with the energy that's around us. It's a new year and people are looking at the next 12 months with a lot of anticipation and excitement. So great. What will you do different? What will you do with the knowledge and the experience and the tools around you? What will you do to make those things come to life, to see change happen in your business, in your life, in your world?
Yeah, I think right now we are information rich and we are addicted to information and we are allergic to implementation. I
Mm.
do know that a lot of people, they do go to classes. They do listen to great people. They listen to podcasts. And I want to applaud the people for learning because our neocortex, the part of our brain, loves to learn. It's going, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. Oh, I've been there, done that. I took that class once. I read that book once. I'm not going to reread it. I've already read it. Give me something new. And they're always
Mm.
looking for new information. And see, it stops there. If we do not take that knowledge, that experience that we've had, and that learning that we can declare, called declarative learning, and push it on into the limbic system, the doing part of the brain, where the amygdala lights up and says, I'm going to implement what I just learned. And yes, we implement and we fail and we learn a new way. Yet it's that doing. And once we do it over and over again, then it goes into the cerebellum part of the brain where now we're being it. It's like learning to drive a car. You drive the car over and over again, and now you've become someone that doesn't even have to think about driving a car. It just comes automatic. Yet now you get in a car that has a stick shift and you've never driven a stick shift. If it's not automatic, how do I do that? Right back to that learning process. Even though you know how to drive a car, there's a new thing, a new innovative thing that you have to now retrain your brain to do it that way, along with this former learning that you had about driving.
Guys, do you see why I love hanging out with Dianna? I learn something from her every time. And clearly you can see that she has a passion for helping other people.
And you know what? I want when my days are ending to hear those words, well done, good and faithful servant, that I
Yeah.
multiplied the talents I was given. And I want to just challenge everybody that's watching or listening to this. Are you multiplying your talents? Are you working to make your weaknesses better, or are you working in your strength zone? And when you're
Yes.
in that strength zone and you're multiplying it and you're getting better and taking classes to improve, and then you're spreading that on with other people, not for ego, for the betterment of them.
Yes.
That's, you can tell a great leader. They are always in the service of other people. And so we're teaching people to stay in that comfort zone. We're
Right.
holding people back. And I think we do that even in our school with the red check marks, with the this is wrong, instead of, hey, you got 90% right. No, you got 10 wrong. Don't get 10 wrong again. I'm going, no, what did we do correct? Can we just look at those types of things sometimes? It's easy. Like John said, there's no two consecutive good days in a leader's life. If you're a leader and people, they're going to find fault with the leader. The question is, what's going to happen when they do? Are you going to give feedback, or are you just going to cut them off at the knees, right?
Mm.
We have to decide who we're going to be and then take it from there, helping other people become all that they can be.
Yeah, so many good things in this conversation, Diana. As we're winding down on our time right now, What is your hope for the new year for yourself? What are you most looking forward to?
Oh, the mentorship program, just doing more and more mentoring. And of course, with mentoring comes a lot of great questions, and that comes from coaching. And I loved the coaching industry. Look, I'm working on another book right now, which is
Oh,
going to be
great.
fun. I love that kind of stuff. And I don't know if the people listening to this are you have to opt in to get my items, right? Yet Monday, they get a motivational, just a quote. And then Tuesday, the podcast. But here's what's interesting. The freebie Fridays,
Yes.
that's like a workbook where one of the workbooks was working you through your limiting beliefs into liberating beliefs. We've had gratitude, helping people move. And it's a self workbook that they can do on their own, answering the questions and helping themselves to get better in the areas that are going to help them. Now, I'm all for sales skills and I'm all for learning scripts.
Mhm.
I taught scripts for years
Sure.
and I was known for my scripts. Yet that mindset, if we're not working on our mindset, on our energy, on all those things, you
Mhm.
can be as good as you want to be and you probably still won't get it because your
Yeah, because you
energy's
have to
off.
start on the inside in order for you to develop the skills you need on the outside. So if someone wants to download some of your resources, Diana, how can they do that?
They can go to dkbusinesses.com, to becomingmorebook.com. Just go to the support section and just say, I want to receive the emails. They're all free.
Yeah.
And of course, you can always unsubscribe if you don't like them. I'm so excited for everything that is transpiring because people are starting to transform their lives instead of just change them.
Yeah, huge. Thank you for being here. There was one question I wanted to ask you that I didn't, and I am going to ask this question before we close out because we've talked a lot about coaching, consulting, mentoring. What is the difference between mentoring and coaching? Because there is a distinct difference.
I love that you asked that question. See, the main thing is a coach has accountability. A coach is to become your partner in your business. A coach should know your numbers just as good as you do, right? They
Yeah.
should literally be able to look at that business and give guidance and direction. More importantly, they'll ask the right questions to pull out of you what it is that you desire. And it's up to them to help you get it. And if they're not being a partner, then they're doing more consulting. If they're just telling you what to do and not asking questions, that's more like a consultant. A mentor is someone that takes their wisdom and their knowledge, the things that they use to grow their businesses, and now they're teaching you that wisdom and knowledge. They're teaching you the things that actually worked for them. And they're allowing you to ask questions wherever you're at as to what guidance would you give me? Now, a
Yeah.
mentor still will ask you questions,
Sure.
yet not like a coach. And a mentor does not have anything to do with your business per se. They'll
Right.
help
That's
you with
true. Yeah, they could be totally outside of your industry. So there's space for all three of them in your life, and that can be extremely powerful. And so I just wanted to make sure everyone listening who I know that I trust the people who are listening want to become more in 2025. And so I wanted them to have that context because you might need to identify a coach and a consultant in different areas of your life. And sometimes you need different people in your life because the person who's going to be a great spiritual coach may not be a good mentor for your business. So it's important to identify who those people need to be in your world and get the encouragement, the support that you need for growth and for you to be able to move forward and to become more.
And I love that you're in the mentorship program and
Me too.
allowing me to mentor you along with John and the other people that I bring in. I think a good mentor also brings in other people and gives them recognition rather
Yes.
than the wanting to be the star all the time. So thank you so much for having me on this
Oh, thank you.
podcast.
Thank you for being here. We could talk for hours. I appreciate and I love you. Thank you so much for sharing and pouring into everyone today.
See you all. Thank you so much and may 2025 be your best year ever.
Yes.